is the BRS comfortable with looking at this idea, at least sitting on the table and discussing it? Fundamentally, do you believe that India does need lesser election cycles in the country?
Definitely. No. See, I believe that...
Sir, this is for Khaliko Rahman. This is for Khaliko Rahman. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, Shivani, and good evening to all my co-panelists. So when we are debating about the one election, one poll, in fact, I have got the huge, doubts over the conduct of the elections.
Because in 1967, the population of the country was only, the voting population was only 17 crores. Today we have almost about 91 crores. The
yes,
voting
sir,
population.
I asked O.P. Rawat that question.
Exactly. I'm coming to that.
Yes,
I'm coming to that. So, and moreover, what happens is because as my co-panelist from Andhra Pradesh was saying that we have so many regional parties here today. Because in 1967, we didn't have even a single regional party, if I remember, because it used to be only one party, that is the Congress. But later on, it's especially in the state of Andhra Pradesh in 1983, it was N.T. Ramarao who floated the Telugu Desam party, because every state was feeling and every region was feeling that somehow the aspirations of that particular region was being neglected by the national parties. So because of that, the regional parties came into existence. And another thing is because we don't have the kind of the infrastructure in the country to have the simultaneous elections.
No, but sir, can I just come in? With due respect, Khaliko Rahman, whether we have the infrastructure, and one second, I'm going to come back to you. Whether we have the infrastructure and whether the population has increased so much that we cannot handle them. I asked that to the expert on the show, and I think we should leave the experts, which are the Election Commission, to decide on that. On your political argument, of the regional parties, I take that point, and that's the big worry that's coming to light. But why do you feel that regional parties' prospects will be hurt when we have seen in recent times that public votes very intelligently? They know who they want in the center and they know who they want in the state. So when that hasn't affected states like Andhra Pradesh or Odisha, why should it affect other states?
So it is not about the state's interest or the state political parties getting affected. But what is important here is because today we are talking about the EVMs, but there is a huge demand coming up from different political parties and also from the people that the EVMs should be replaced with the ballot.
No, I'm sorry, Khaliko Rahman, there is no such demand by the public, and these questions have been looked into. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take this debate into that direction. No, I'm sorry. As a responsible news channel, I am not going to further these absolutely misplaced doubts and fake stories about the EVMs. That debate is settled.
And apart from that, see, because as far our polls are concerned, because there is a history of the violence, so it's also not that easy.
Again, so I asked O.P. Rawat that question. So he said two things, and Charu Pragya, I'm coming to you. Two things are required. One is, of course, the infrastructure, which will include EVMs that need to be almost doubled in the country if there is to be one cycle. But I really highly doubt there's going to be one cycle. And the second thing he said, of course, the government has to provide for adequate paramilitary and other forces for such elections to be conducted simultaneously. But the question that emerges is that when in 2019, 2016 and then 2019, Prime Minister Narendra Modi talked about this idea and floated this idea, why is it that you're suddenly moving in this direction in 2023, in late 2023, 6 months before the next general elections? Charu, I think you've muted yourself.
My apologies. Good evening, Shivani, and good evening to all the viewers and my fellow co-panelists as well. Shivani, allow me a few minutes to discuss two sides of the story. Let's begin with why Prime Minister Modi has repeatedly talked about one nation, one election. And let's understand it is not simply only one nation, one election. He has talked about several reforms for our country, whether it is one nation, one tax, one nation, one budget, or one nation, one road tax, one nation, one law, law, all of this falls under the reforms that India has been discussing and looking towards doing, and one nation, one election is a very important one, and I'll explain why. This is not just about the cost of the election, which is very high, looking at our very high population. This is also not just about the number of security personnel and other government employees which are deployed to make these elections successful. It is also not just about the whole moral code of conduct and the state machinery which comes into play repeatedly if the elections are repeated. This is about being efficient. This is about ensuring that if there are a lot of elections which can be clubbed together, why not look at doing it that way? And I don't presume to know what the committee will decide, which is being headed by our former President Kovindji. But even Kovindji, in his first joint address to the Parliament, had talked about one nation, one election, and he'd mentioned a lot of reasons why he thinks
I get that, but Charu, that wasn't my question to you. My question to you was, you've been in power for nearly 10 years. I remember the Prime Minister publicly floated this idea way back in 2016 after coming to power first, then again in 2019. So why is it that a committee is being formed now?
Shivani, there is a right time for everything. And
how is this the right time? You'll barely be able to do this before the next general elections.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So, let me first give a little bit of background facts. So, starting from now till Lok Sabha elections and a little after, 12 states go in for elections. 12 states, and I can list them out for you from the 5 state elections happening in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Andhra. Then the next lot of Haryana, Maharashtra, Odisha, Arunachal. So 12 of those states and plus the Lok Sabha elections, please tell me if the Niti Aayog, if the committees working together, can we not make things easier? And if
the question here is, are you saying,
I'm coming to the timing as well.
Are you saying, once again, are you saying that without the 2/3 majority that you need in Parliament, without I think you almost barely have the 50% states who can ratify this, how are you going to bring in this reform? And I am calling it a reform because I think it's a reform, but how are you going to push it at this stage when every party and your opposition bloc is basically focused on defeating you in the next elections? They're not going to let this pass. This is not going to become a reality before 2024 or for the 2024 elections.
So let's just hope, Shivani, that for the sake of the betterment of this country and for better reforms to be put forward in India, the opposition parties align on some critical issues at least. And we've seen in the past that they haven't done that. They haven't done that for very important issues, whether relating to women or relating to our security. That being aside, now when people would ask, BJP's manifesto has always talked about the Ram Mandir. Why did it take you so long since the inception of the party in 1980?
No. I'm not getting into that. Ram Mandir is not comparable. Ram Mandir was under legal cases. So please don't compare to that. But let Lavanya come in. Lavanya has been waiting for some time. Yes, Lavanya.
See, I've heard the expert on the show. I've heard you.